Welcome back. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this week's show. We're going to start off with Matt Dykstra. He was able to connect on an awesome deer late November. We had some warmer weather there towards the end of November, and Matt was actually hunting a couple other bucks on a different property and just putting a lot of time in, but just wasn't having success. So he decided to give that farm a break and hopped over to a new farm that he hadn't really hunted or had a ton of history with, and he was able to connect on an awesome buck. One of them times a year where you just got to be in the stand and put the time in, and that's exactly what Matt did, and he found success. So I think you guys are going to like that hunt. And then we also have Clayton Wehmhoefer. He was able to tag a doe here in late November as well, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this hunt. It's got kind of a sentimental twist to it that I know I really enjoyed hearing about. So I hope you guys enjoy this week's show, and we're going to get right to it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Heartland Show. On this week's episode, I'm super excited to bring you my successful hunt from November 16th. But before we get to that, I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a step back and just kind of explain how the season progressed and how we got to this point. You know, as most of you guys that know, if you've been watching the Heartland Show over the last few seasons, you know Dad and I have spent a lot of time hunting that buck that we call Lazy Boy. And last year, we really didn't get hardly any pictures of that deer after the month of November started. So we really weren't sure this year whether we were going to be able to relocate that buck and hunt him. But, you know, we did our diligence, and we took and put out a lot of cameras in his core area, hoping that we'd have him to hunt this year. And unfortunately, he just never showed up. So there were several other bucks, though, that were sticking around that we were hoping that we maybe could catch up with this year. And one of them was a buck that we call Hank. But we also just covered a big area with cameras on several other pieces of ground, some public areas, just trying to create a new hit list and bucks to go after this year. So we started hunting a river bottom property that we were getting a few pictures of a really nice mature 8-pointer. And as luck would have it, on November 4th, I actually had an encounter with him out in a cornfield that had just been picked, chasing does around that morning. And then I also saw a buck that I had history with from the year before that. It was just a real big deer with tall brows. And they were both out in that cornfield for a good chunk of the morning chasing does around. Also had a few other small bucks come by the stand. And those were our first real good mature buck encounters for the year. And then going on from there, kind of shifted to hunting that buck that we called Hank. And on November 11th, I was able to have an encounter with him, and he came in and actually bedded down about 50 yards for about an hour. And then once he stood up, he ended up going the opposite direction, and he did kind of circle back in right at last shooting light. I wasn't able to get any video of him, but it just didn't work out. The plan was to keep hunting Hank, but we had some warm temperatures a few days after that. So going into the hunt on November 16th, I knew it was going to be another warm hunt. It was probably going to be minimal movement, and the focus was trying to hunt that buck that we called Hank. And I knew that there was going to be some colder weather coming that weekend, so I just decided to try something different and not go in there. I wanted to leave that area sit. That way, when the cold front hit, hopefully our odds would be a little bit higher for encountering Hank. So I decided to go to this other property that's a piece of public ground that I had been running cameras on the last few years, so it wasn't like I was going in completely blind. And I actually had a buck there that we called a short 410 that I got several sets of sheds to. So I just figured, he had been there a few days before or so on camera. So I just decided, and let's just try it. What can it hurt this time of the year? Anything can happen. So that was going to be the plan, to just dive in and hopefully encounter this buck that we call the short 410. Here we go. It is November 16th.
through the month of November already. It's hard to believe. We've had a few decent encounters with mature bucks, but so far nothing has worked out. This morning I decided to go try something a little bit different. I've only sat this spot once so far this year. When I was here, I never did see a deer, but I know this is historically a pretty good spot. We were hunting a pretty good deer here last year, and unfortunately he ended up getting killed by another hunter, but there were a couple other good deer in this area as well. One of them is a buck that we call the short 410, and I've been getting a few pictures of him not too far from here, so I'd really like to catch up with that buck. I got quite a bit of history with him, a few sets of sheds, and he hasn't really made any kind of jump here the last couple of years, so he'd be a really good one to target. There was also one other really big deer that I had an encounter with exactly a year ago today that I got a shed off of, but he's so sporadic and doesn't live here, so the odds of seeing him aren't real great, but you never know this time of the year. We're starting to get to that point of the rut where bucks are starting to break off of these does. There's less available every day, so they're starting to cover a lot more ground again. This time frame's been historically one of my better stretches of the season, so I'm gonna settle in here and hopefully I'd be in some action this morning. Oh my God. I can't believe it. Alright, well, that was pretty sweet. Wasn't really expecting a whole lot this morning, just with the weather not being that good, but that just goes to show you this time of the year you never know what can happen. I only saw one deer, but it was a good one, so I'm gonna go ahead and get everything packed up and then go meet my dad back at the truck, grab the cart, and shed some of these clothes because it's definitely starting to warm up. So, and we're gonna come right back to this spot and we'll go get our hands on them. Alright, well, it's been a little bit here since I shot this buck. I was waiting for Dad to get up here to help film the recovery, so we're back to the stand now. So we're gonna fight through this jungle here and try to find my arrow and then go get our hands on this buck.
That's a good deal. Here we are behind this beautiful Iowa public land 8-point. This morning I decided to kind of mix things up a little bit. We've been hunting the main farm, and with this cold front that we got that's supposed to come through tomorrow and really start dropping the temperatures down, I decided to go ahead and let that rest. I still wanted to hunt because this time of the year anything can happen. I decided to come to this piece of public ground that we've been hunting the last couple years. And I was actually going after a buck we call the short 410 that I found several sheds off of him over the last few years. And we had the stand set up for that particular buck. And this morning I decided to do a few rattling sequences. There hadn't been any deer come through at all. So I really just thought, you know, with the weather that the deer just weren't going to be moving good. But about 8 o'clock or so, I caught some movement out in the CRP. And this guy came right down into the draw I was sitting at, and he ended up coming right up to 10 yards and just offered a shot that I could not pass up. That just goes to show this time of the year anything can happen. The weather can be hot, might not be getting pictures of the mature buck you're after on camera, but you know, even with that, you never know what can happen. I don't have any pictures of this buck. We just came through cruising looking for a doe. This time of the year, you just never know what can happen, and you just got to be in a tree. It ended up being a great hunt this morning, and I couldn't be more happy to wrap my tag around this buck. Thanks for watching Midwest Whitetail, Heartland Show.
Welcome to Midwest Whitetail, the Heartland. Jeff and I are going to head to my Uncle Mike's and do our grandpa's hunt this morning, because I don't think I'm going to be able to hunt tomorrow at all. There hasn't been a whole lot of activity here at Uncle Mike's. That's kind of why we haven't hunted at all during bow season. But kind of made this kind of a tradition after Grandpa passed away that we'd usually do it on a Sunday morning. But seeing how, like I said, there was a chance I might not be able to hunt tomorrow, we're going to do it today. But there was quite a few deer on camera like yesterday, I'm sure, with all the neighbors being out in the woods gun hunting. So taking Grandpa's gun, hopefully we can try and connect with that this year. The last few years, first year I tried with his original setup, not changing anything, but I just couldn't get the scope to stay dialed in, so I replaced the scope and the mount. So hopefully this year I went out and shot it and it was dead on from last year after I changed that stuff. But yeah, looking forward to today's hunt. We'll see what happens, and stay tuned, and hopefully we can bring you some action.
Yes or no? It's up to you. Not yet. Okay. No. Yeah. She's going down right there. Oh well. That happened pretty quick right there. We actually, oh man. We just saw a decent buck out in the field. There's a neighbor hunting right here by us. And then heard this big doe and a fawn come right up here behind us. I'm guessing it was the one that came in earlier real fast. But that means a lot right there. I just shot that doe with my grandpa's gun out of the stand we call Grandpa's stand. Man, I'm sorry about that. But that's pretty sweet. It's the first deer I got to shoot with Grandpa's gun, and it was right out of the stand we call Grandpa's stand, so it's probably gonna be oh man. It's just a doe, but it's probably one of the most important does I ever shot right there. So that and have Jeffrey here behind the camera just means a lot. Gotta love deer season. Well, we just got down here, and like I said, it ain't gonna be that hard of a track job. You can, from the stand, you can see the blood going down the road, and she's just right around the corner here. So we're gonna go get a tag put on her, get her cleaned up, and go get a couple pictures with the kiddos. And like I said, still a little bit of emotions going through me with this shooting a doe with my grandpa's gun. But he was a guy with few words, but he would definitely help you out if you need it, and just means a lot. So stay tuned, and we'll get to go take care of this deer right now. So thanks for watching. Kind of like how you like to find them. You don't have to get in the brush or nothing. Oh, it's so big. Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you really enjoyed those two hunts. Congrats again to Matt and Clayton. Two awesome kills there. Moving forward, we got gun seasons I know have been open in Illinois and throughout the Midwest. Iowa's second season is coming in this weekend. A lot of us bow hunters that might not hunt until late muzzleloader are getting a little bit of a break here, but things are going to be kicking off here again pretty quick. So I know a lot of the teams are going to be back hitting the woods here in the next few weeks, so hopefully maybe next week even we can get you guys a couple kills. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.